Hey Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, friends, we literally watch an old video and I talk to you about it. Okay, so hear me out. It is New Year's Eve. It is certainly been a year for Pokemon, for life, for humanity. So I figured to wrap up the year, we would take a look at a video that I made earlier this year. Now this was my 2020 goals video, and you can expect one to also pop up a little bit later on in January for 2021 that will outline some of my goals for next year. But in today's video, what I wanted to do is take a little bit of time to reflect on the past year and see what goals I set out myself to accomplish and what goals I actually did accomplish, because there were many unforeseen movements in the Pokemon community and in the Pokemon hobby that I think have really kind of impacted us all, meaning, you know, casual collectors to serious investors, and it's really made a lot of shakeups in the hobby. So in today's video, I figured we would just page through the old video, take a peek, and then I could share with you all some of my accomplishments this year as a collector, but also hopefully share with you some insights and some anecdotes into things that I've noted in the hobby and in the community as well. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and run the video. This is trippy. But I'm actually not even going to really kind of stick around for too much. So as you can see, my 2020 goals for my Pokemon card collection. So the first one was, this is awkward, my first one was a complete set of Shining Legends cards from Call of Legends. Now, Call of Legends is one of those interesting sets. It came out in the gap between Generations 4 and Generations 5, and it was an English-only set, meaning Japan never got these. Some of the shiny cards that you're seeing on screen right now were released as special release or as some sort of lottery or promotional card, but none of them were ever released in a legitimized set, unlike here in the United States where we received a random booster box called Call of Legends. Now, it was known for a couple of things, but one is these really interesting shiny Pokemon cards. They were given their own numbering line. They were SL cards. There are 11 of them in total, as well as 3 additional ones that can be grabbed from tins that feature alternate arts for the legendary dogs. And what's really interesting about them is that they have become notorious for a variety of reasons. The first is that since they have that holographic edging, they are really, really difficult to grade. And then on top of that, because Call of Legends was a bridge gap set, meaning it just kind of did like an awkward transition between Generation 4 and Generations 5, it really wasn't printed that much, meaning nowadays you really do have to struggle to find this stuff on the open market. It seemed like last year there was tons of it available. You could scoop up one of these boxes for about $2,500, but more recently, one of these boxes actually sold for over $10,000. So needless to say, it's been a very good year for the Call of Legends set. So here's the good news. At the end of last year, and this is something that I didn't even get to share on the channel, I did end up picking up a complete set of these cards raw. So I was able to buy, I believe, 10 of the 11, and then I was able to also add on to that with some additional stuff. So the good news is that in the grand scheme of things, I do believe that at this point, I do have a complete set of Shining Legends cards. Now, I took notes on the video just prior to starting, and one thing that I also realized is that in the video, I did commit to getting them in any condition. I realized right away, hey, this was going to be expensive to do, and so I really wasn't trying to do that thing where I get PSA 10s because people are just listing these cards at stupid prices. The other thing I could try to do is pull them all. The pull rates on these are decent, although they're not as, you know, punishing as EX cards. They're still obviously pretty rare, and one can assume that someone has found a way to try to either map the box or weigh the packs or some combination of things that would, you know, try to favor them over selling these things on a free market. So in the grand scheme of things, at this point, I do have a complete set. They haven't been revealed on YouTube as of yet, and part of the reason for that is, unfortunately, because I just have really just a backlog of PSA videos, and I kind of want to release them in order. So although you haven't seen them yet, do know that they do exist, they are in my possession, and they're part of my own personal collection. So the cool thing is that I don't think they will be going anywhere, and the good news is that in the, more or less in broad strokes, I did complete this goal for myself in 2020. Now, next up, we have another goal of mine, which was completing my missing Gold Star cards. Now, similar to Shining Legends, the Gold Star cards are very, very rare and very, very expensive, and I realized, like, hey, they're gonna be expensive to buy. So I opted for a situation where I do my very best to pick up as many of them as I possibly could. On screen right now, you're seeing two of the cards that were missing at the time that I recorded this video. The other card that I needed was a Flareon from Power Keepers. Now, the cool part about this is that I was actually able to purchase this Mew. So I do have a PSA 9 Gold Star Mew, and I also purchased a binder earlier in the year that, ironically enough, also had a Gold Star Mew in it. So I sold that one, but I ended up just buying a PSA 9. It's a beautiful card, so I was able to check that one off. Metagross and Flareon, however, still continue to elude me. One of the things that I've thought about doing is actually purchasing these cards raw, because you do see them pop up from time to time, and then using my PSA submissions to get one of these graded, because I think it would be fun to have one of them graded. But in the grand scheme of things, I do still need two of these cards. They did kind of elude me, and one of the reasons for that is because 2020 was a big year for a lot of sets, including the Gold Star cards and the Gold Star sets. So it shouldn't really be a surprise to anyone, but these cards continued to get violently expensive over the past year, and as a result of that, I did kind of have to put aside my pride a little bit and purchase them when they were on sale, or when I could combine very good value with points, with eBay bucks or whatever have you, in order to try to play and time the market to get the best deal possible. Part of my fear is that we are kind of reaching a plateau for a little bit, and so I didn't want to just throw money at these cards, not knowing if I would be able to quickly liquidate them in a ever-evolving market. So that's one of the things you should definitely keep in mind whenever you're thinking about making larger purchases, is if you need the money, would you be able to get it back? And then another thing is, don't collect with pride. That's one thing that I've definitely learned this year, is that you definitely don't want to be in a situation where your entire sort of collecting strategy is led by you wanting to, flex a lot of money and stuff like that. I could have bought, Gold Star Metagrosses at stupidly high prices. And the funny part is that right now, as we kind of sit at the end of December, a lot of those prices are coming down. And I've seen a lot of my friends who are sellers say something similar. They're seeing a lot of folks kind of initiate returns or say, oh, hey, this was a scam, I don't think the card's real. And the problem is mainly that, they just have buyer's remorse because the prices are dipping down now. So you definitely don't want to buy with pride when the market is high and then realize that you lost a ton of money because now the market is low. So just a little bit of anecdotal evidence there for you. Next up, we have the EX Series sealed booster boxes from various EX Series sets. So this was another major headache for me as a collector. So my big goal in Pokemon card collecting will be to have a complete EX Series set. And there are two major components to that. So the first is going to be the boxes that I have. At the time this video was made, ironically enough, I had two of the three boxes on screen right now, EX Deoxys and EX Dragon Frontiers. I purchased both of those in early fall 2019, and frankly, probably one of the best decisions that I've ever made. I spent a ton of money on them at the time, but ironically enough, both of those boxes have increased by at least 5, if not 10 times the amount that I paid for them. So just to put it into perspective, you know, collectively, I think I might have spent about $15,000 on these 2 boxes in fall of 2019, and the EX Deoxys box alone is currently being placed bid on, meaning someone is putting an offer out there for $100,000 for a legitimate box of EX Deoxys. So, to say the least, I'm really happy that I made some of the pickups when I did, because had I not, I think this dream would have gotten squashed really, really quickly. Same thing with Dragon Frontiers. I ended up picking that up from Legendary Cards over on Instagram. And then a little bit earlier this year, I was actually able to pick up a EX Team Rocket box. But here's the funny thing, and a lot of people don't know this yet because I didn't really kind of pop out when it happened. But I actually got an opportunity to get a even more mint condition EX Team Rocket box. And here is the second part of my 16 box collecting journey. Obviously, the first part is buying the boxes I don't have. And then the second part is for the boxes I do have, if I have an opportunity to improve them in some way, shape, or form, or get better condition boxes, I would try to make the moves and make that happen. So one thing that I ended up doing is I had a really ugly EX Team Rocket Returns box. But I knew of a friend who had a very, very case fresh box. This was taken out of a case, I think in 2018, and put immediately into an acrylic box. So this thing looked great. I ended up getting in contact with PokeRev, and his video, the one where he unboxes that set of cards, I was the person who was able to work out basically what is effectively like a 3-way transaction, where I got my new mint box, and then PokeRev was able to open a box that was in far less good condition, but was still, 100% totally legit, and, was probably also just tons of fun to open up because it was such a rare box to open. I believe Rev ended up pulling 2 EX cards, no Gold Star. So it just goes to show how tough the times were when it came to EX Team Rocket Returns. Those cards are ultra rare in the truest sense of the word. But it was pretty cool for a variety of reasons. I mean, obviously, one of the boxes from my private collection got opened up on arguably one of the biggest Pokemon-related stages on YouTube, which is amazing. And I also got to make a friend out of PokeRev, so that was also pretty cool. So obviously, just getting to do business and building a reputation with someone in the community is amazing. And then on top of that, for it to be someone that's obviously been like a pillar of our community for so long, that was also an excellent opportunity in its own right. So I gotta say, this whole journey for the EX series boxes collection has taken me to some pretty wacky places, and it's actually been very, very rewarding. So I think that's one of the things that I really do enjoy about this particular facet of my journey, because this is definitely like the big thing for me, is that it has, really led me to make some interesting friends, really, and when I say friends, I genuinely mean friends. And then it's also helped me to make business connections. It's helped me to get to see different parts of the community and share my experience with other individuals. And then, of course, it's also gotten me the chance to, kind of get out on the big stage and be recognized as a legitimate seller and buyer of stuff in the community, which is also really cool. So for all these reasons and many more, this is something that I'm still working on. As of right now, I currently have made moves to have, at this point, 13 of the 16 boxes. The most recent pickup for me was a EX Dragon box, and that box was purchased and was actually featured in a very recent mail day. That box was not painfully close to market, but expensive enough. It didn't match the $29,000 asking price of one individual on eBay, but I do think it was, still very close to $20,000, put it that way. So because of that, I'm fairly confident EX boxes are only going to go up in value. If anyone answers that EX Deoxys call price of $100,000, I don't even know what's going to happen. As of right now, the good news is that all three that you see on screen right now are owned by me. All three of them are in excellent condition. At this point, the 3 boxes that remain for me to purchase are going to be EX Legend Maker, EX Sandstorm, and EX Holon Phantoms. Now, Holon is arguably going to be the hardest, and the good news is that I have Sandstorm and Legend Maker both lined up. So I think those 2 boxes come and go with the tides. I think you can always find them. So at this point, it's nice to know that I'm not hunting for them, because if I had to go spend $100,000 on a Deoxys box, I'd probably not do that. But the benefit is that it seems like for one reason or the other, the boxes that I ended up buying ended up being the same boxes that were going to be incredibly difficult to find in the future. And as a result of that, I was put into a very good position where I can now kind of play around a little bit with Sandstorm and Legend Maker. Holon, I do need to treat it a little bit more seriously because we haven't seen one pop up yet, but I have a feeling that, you know, assuming I can make some moves and figure some stuff out, I can probably scoop it up when it comes my way, assuming it's not like $30,000 plus. There is one individual who is selling one that I know of, but I think that situation is a little tough to navigate because there's no known price for the box. So it's incredibly difficult to, you know, argue with someone, or at least try to like have a civilized conversation with someone and have a reasonable sale price when neither of us really know what the true value of the box is. And that's what makes it so difficult. So that's one thing to consider. But all things considered, this has probably been my favorite part of collecting. It's definitely been a very rewarding component of this year. Just, you know, getting to do business and getting to see one of my boxes opened up on live stream has been an amazing experience. And I think I'm moving very close to having all 16 boxes. Once I do, I'm probably going to do a video and just kind of show them all off, because it's very rare that you see a complete set of these. And then at that point, you know, maybe I'll set a new goal for myself. Who knows? Next up on the video, we have various EX series sealed product. So again, to no one's surprise, I'm a huge EX series fan. I didn't really get a lot of WotC stuff when I was a kid. I was more exposed to the EX era. And as a result of that, that's kind of where I see a lot of my own collection heading. The good news is that I was able to pick up quite a bit of various blisters and boosters. And this is all stuff that kind of happened earlier in the year before the price explosion. Because if you look at the cost of some of this stuff now, it is now easily over $1,000 for a 3-pack blister. So at this point, I think the ship has sailed in terms of me wanting to buy that stuff. You know, while I'm still working on a collection of booster boxes, every dollar counts. And especially when, you know, EX boxes are trending anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000, it can be, or higher, it can be incredibly difficult to justify buying a $1,000 blister when I could have saved that $1,000 and applied it towards my next large purchase. So that's something that I've definitely considered. The good news is that while I was able to pick up a variety of EX era stuff, I was also then able to diversify and also start investing in other stuff. So just randomly, in that last mail day video again, you all saw a Heart Gold Soul Silver booster box. You all got to see some black and white stuff earlier in the year. I did a whole bunch of purchasing of Generation 4 tins, and so there's definitely tons of other stuff that I've been able to find. Ironically, I set this goal for myself, and I think what it did is it forced me to diversify my own collection, which I actually low-key love. So it's one of those things. This stuff became too expensive, so you move along to the next thing. Ironically, the next thing was probably undervalued and is going to go up in value sooner or later too. So that's kind of how collecting goes. I do feel it's a bit cyclical in that nature, but it's definitely a rewarding thing. On screen, you'll see the premium collector's box. Last year around this time, I had a heartbreaking loss at auction for a sealed box of 8 of these. And I completely goofed the auction. I regret it with everything. This is probably one of my biggest regrets still, a year later, is not winning that auction and going the extra mile to win it. But it's a situation where you learn from your mistakes, and now I obviously don't underestimate any auctions anymore. But this is one of those things that's probably not going to end up in my collection unless I find a good deal for it. Again, I'm not afraid to buy them if I knew they were going to be mine and it was going to be a wrap, and I found like a nice set of 2 of them, the one with the Rayquaza and the one with the Deoxys. But I think other than finding the 2 of them and knowing that I could display them with my booster boxes, I'd probably pass. The good news is that I did lock in a deal for 3 of the EX tins, and these are dope because they also have the Kanto legendaries as well. These were also in a mail day video of mine, so it's actually pretty cool because where I couldn't get this, I did end up getting exposed to something that's just as cool. I think the artwork is amazing, and it's definitely a really nice piece. And what's cool about that is that one of those was sold at auction originally to TCA Gaming and then ended up in a mystery box to Unlisted Leaf. So it's also pretty cool because I realized how interesting it was how things kind of move around the hobby, but because it's such a rare and unique piece, this tin ended up firstly being sold to, I think, one of the largest sellers in our hobby, and then it was also really cool because that same exact tin ended up on Unlisted Leaf's video, which was amazing because it was like, well, holy smokes, that was on my table a couple of months ago, and now it's literally on YouTube for the whole world to see, and particularly his entire audience to see. So I thought that was, again, really amazing. Again, just goes to show how crazy the times are with kind of the way that we're connected. So next up, I have the last thing on my goals list for 2020, and that was a PSA 10 Base Set Charizard. First edition and shadowless. All I'm gonna do is laugh and move along, because this is rough. Okay, so here's how we go, because this is just it's really just annoying to look at. Okay, so if you didn't check out the 2020 video, I do own a PSA 5, by the way. I purchased it back in 2013. I got it graded as a raw card. And then I also graded a Venusaur and a Blastoise. So I have a set of cards that's from like the 2000s. Or like the first number is a 2 on the cert. And, they're OG. Like, you can tell the difference between what a PSA 5 was back then versus now. So, without a doubt, like, I'm glad that I have a first edition Charizard in my collection, but it is a PSA 5. Last year, I purchased 2 raw cards, had them graded. They came back a 5 and a 6. I did end up getting outbid on a PSA 10. Apparently, the guy cracked the case, went ahead and had the card out, and his goal was to get it to BGS to grade it to see if it would get a pristine 10, or a black label even. I was outbid, the guy sold it, I don't know what happened to it. I'm kind of happy it didn't end up happening. And I did end up getting a BGS 9.5. It might have been a fake. The only reason I say that is because there was some weird surface damage on the card itself that I don't think BGS would have ignored otherwise. In a weird way, I kind of regret not being able to validate that card, because if it was a legitimate 9.5 and BGS just doesn't have good QC over, scratches on the holofoil, in theory that card is now stupid amounts of money. So ironically, I might have shot myself in the foot. I'm sure the seller, while he wasn't happy with me back then, is probably excited because in October he probably could have sold it for too much money. But nowadays, the way I think about this has changed drastically. Last year, it was still feasible. You could get a PSA 10 for like 20 grand, 30 grand, maybe even 40, 50 grand. Now, these cards are easily $200,000 plus. So, in a weird way, my goal of owning them has sort of sunsetted. Even PSA 9s are $100,000 cards, so it's either own a PSA 9, which, again, I want to kick myself every time I say it, because I could have bought one of those for $10,000, passed up that, and now it's a $100,000 card. But I think the lesson here is that, you know, if you want something, save up and find a way to buy it, and don't hold back. Like, I thought $10,000 was a lot of money. I thought $20,000 was a lot of money. If someone had told me where the market would be a year ago, I would have spent too much money on Charizards, fully knowing what was going to happen to them over the course of a calendar year. So it's just one of those situations where I'm like, I probably should have done more, but whatever the case may be. The good news, and this was on Instagram, I did end up buying 3 heavy first edition base set packs. So it's a full art set, Venusaur, Blastoise, Charizard, and they came from 2 different boxes. I don't know the history too much behind the Venusaur and the Charizard, which came from 1 box. But the Blastoise I know came from someone on Instagram, and so I think, according, and you know, we chat all the time, so we always talk, and he's even told me he helped me to validate the sale, but he even said that no Charizard has been pulled from the box that heavy Blastoise came from. So on top of the fact that we know for a fact that it is a heavy pack because it was weighed amongst the other packs in that box, the bigger benefit is that there still hasn't been a Charizard pulled from those heavy packs. And so I don't know that there's ever going to be a situation where I open those packs on camera. Maybe if you guys get me to 1 million subs, we'll do it. There's your goal for 2021, YouTube audience. Go ahead and get me to 1 million subs, and we'll open all 3 of those packs. I think the guy wanted $75,000 for the 3 packs. So we'll open $75,000 in packs if we hit 1 million subscribers. I'm probably going to regret that. But yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I couldn't get the Charizard, but I ended up getting the heavy first edition packs. Personally, again, I don't have that strong an affiliation with WotC, so I don't really have like a bleeding heart for this stuff. I would buy it, hold it, and then sell it. And, you know, if I make a couple bucks along the way, that's great. If I make a high value sale, that's also great. But what I'm also really considering is, given the strong probability that there might be a Charizard in that Blastoise pack, it has always sort of crossed my mind, like, hey, what if? And so, you know, believe you me, I've always looked for a reason to open those packs, but every sensible part of me says that I need to either wait until whatever I pull out of that helps me recuperate my money, or I need to be in a position that I no longer care about the amount of money that I spent purchasing those packs, because I know I've made it back through other avenues. So it's going to be one of 2 things that really determines whether or not I ever open those casually. And apparently I also said we would open 3 of those if I ever hit 1 million subscribers. So there's a challenge for you. Like, share, and subscribe so that you can watch me probably make the worst decision I will ever do on a recorded video. But with that said, friends, thanks again for checking out today's video. Happy New Year's Eve to those of you guys celebrating. Today is the last day of the year, so it was definitely super important for me to recap this year for you all. I feel like we never get to do these types of chats. It's usually I'm more talking about something, but this was me just telling you like how the year went. Under the guise of like what I had set out to do versus what I was able to accomplish. So I do hope you enjoyed. All the best to you, your family, and your friends for a happy and healthy 2021. Thank you all for being along this journey with me. I said it earlier this week, but it's been an amazing year full of growth and wonder and amazement. And it's been really, really fun to do this and get to produce content for you all. And I look forward to continue to doing that into 2021. Hopefully we'll hit those 1 million subscribers and we can open those packs. But if we don't, as always, thank you again, friends. I appreciate your viewership. Have a great rest of your day. Have a safe and happy New Year's Eve. Happy New Year again to you guys, and I will see you in the new year. Peace.